We have spent many parts exposing Andrew Drummond's paid smear campaigns, his repetition of lies, and his willful blindness to evidence. But now we turn the mirror on Drummond himself, and what we find is pure, disgusting hypocrisy. While living in Thailand, Drummond met Neil Arthur Robert. The two became close. Robert was illegally operating a securities business without a license and soliciting foreign investors in Thailand with promises of tax benefits and long-term returns. Global Investments and Neil Robert were actively placing expat investors into the doomed LM Managed Performance Fund, a scheme that was little more than a Ponzi, and Drummond's own platform actively carried paid advertising promoting this scheme. Yes, that's right. Drummond was actively promoting a Ponzi scheme from a man who didn't possess a license to operate a securities business. Drummond wasn't just passively allowing the ads. He was happily taking their dirty money and giving them prominent placement on his website, effectively promoting the very scam that would later cost him and many others their savings. He was not just promoting the company, he was personally a client, hoping to make another fast buck. He allowed his own pension money to be placed into the LM fund through Robert. As with most Ponzi schemes, the fund collapsed. LM Investment Management entered administration on March 19, 2013 and was liquidated shortly after. Thailand's Securities and Exchange Commission filed criminal complaints against Robert for running this scheme. Thousands of expats lost money. Drummond himself admitted he lost tens of thousands of pounds. Yet here is the absolutely damning part. Drummond published no public warning about Robert or Global Investments until April 9, 2015, more than 2 full years after the fund had already collapsed and thousands of victims had already been financially ruined. Even worse, he completely failed to acknowledge, let alone apologise for, the fact that he had actively promoted this Ponzi scheme on his own platform and happily pocketed the advertising money while the scam was still running at full speed. He took cash from a man running what was essentially a fraudulent investment operation, helped give it legitimacy in front of his audience, and then stayed conspicuously quiet when it all blew up and cost him personally. This is not oversight. This is not bad journalism. This is rank, self-serving hypocrisy of the highest order. Compare that to his treatment of Bryan Flowers. Against Bryan, Drummond has published over 20 vicious articles, many repeated across both his websites, continuing for more than a year even after receiving formal legal notice with overwhelming contradictory evidence, all funded and driven by Adam Howell. This is the smoking gun of selective outrage and rank hypocrisy. Either Drummond is an utterly incompetent journalist who failed at basic due diligence on an advertiser he had a direct personal financial relationship with, or, far worse, he knew there were serious problems with the scheme and still happily pocketed the dirty advertising money from a man running what was essentially a Ponzi. He took cash from Robert while the scheme was actively sucking in more victims, then stayed largely silent when it all collapsed and cost him personally. This is the same man who now claims to be Thailand's self-appointed guardian against expat wrongdoing. Yet when it came to a scam that cost him personally, his famous investigative zeal mysteriously disappeared. This can explain Drummond's all-consuming bitterness. Drummond's most aggressive Thailand-focused output ramped up around and after 2015, the same period that this Ponzi scheme collapsed, and amid the defamation lawsuits filed against him that resulted in Drummond having to flee Thailand. A failed journalistic career, combined with a costly personal betrayal in the very expat investment scene he later pretended to police, provides a coherent psychological appraisal of his constant bitterness. Rather than relentlessly pursue the person who steered him into the loss, Drummond appears to have channeled all that frustration, humiliation, failure and rage outward toward Thailand expats in general. He couldn't bring himself to aggressively go after the man who cost him money, so instead he turned into a professional hater of anyone who succeeded where he failed. Whether this fully explains Drummond's subsequent salacious headlines and fictitious defamatory stories attacking expats is ultimately for you, the person watching this video, to decide. But the evidence is unambiguous. Andrew Drummond lost substantial money in an investment scheme created by Neil Arthur Robert. He said so himself in 2015. Independent reporting confirmed the scale of the loss in 2023. And yet Andrew Drummond, the man famous for never letting go of a story, quietly let this one fade. The smoking gun isn't hidden in some offshore account. It's right there in Drummond's own archive, and in the conspicuous, self-serving silence that followed. This is the true Andrew Drummond, a bitter, hypocritical, selective outrage merchant who happily takes dirty advertising money to promote Ponzi schemes, then stays silent when it suits him, all while relentlessly attacking innocent people when someone else is paying. He is not a journalist. He is a sad, self-serving hypocrite who uses his platform as a weapon when it benefits him and stays conveniently silent when it doesn't. This is the real Andrew Drummond,